Williams, and I feel truly honored to be on this journey with such a wonderful group of us. As many of you know, we are now blessed to be under the mentorship of one of the most respected figure in wellness and functional medicine, Dr. Bob. It is a real privilege to have Dr. Bob with us this evening. His global impact, decades of experience, and passion for helping others succeed make this movement very special for our team. Dr. Bob, we want to extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to you. Thank you for taking this time to pour into us and help guide our path with Organo. To everyone here, whether you are just starting or reconnecting, this is your moment to learn and ask questions and grow. Let's keep our mind open and our spirits expectant. We are in a great hunt. Thank you again for being here. And let's begin, Dr. Bob. Thank you very much, everyone.
Well, thank you, Adebola. It's always an honor to share. If you look at the cover slide that I created here, I'll often go to the internet and I'll type in Ganoderma or I'll type in Reishi. By the way, it's also known as Lingqi. And this picture came up with 13 benefits that are pretty well known. But guess what? It barely begins to touch the surface of all the good that we can actually get through Reishi, through Ganoderma, through a better cup of coffee or tea. So part of my background, I have taught over 10,000 hours of health and functional medicine seminars to doctors all over the world, 3 different decades, 6 different continents. And I've seen every type of patient you can see, world champions from every major professional sport and the other end of the spectrum. The reason I show that foot is that foot was actually given a death sentence. They were going to amputate it. That's gangrene on the foot. This individual had diabetes. And the day that that first picture was taken, she was scheduled for an amputation 2 days later. But if you look at that foot 2 weeks later, and then ultimately almost 2 years later, you come to realize that if an individual has a pulse, they have a prayer. If they're not dead, there's hope. And I'll tell you what, they call this the herb of spiritual potency. It literally, the herb Ganoderma, feeds on dead lungs and turns it into one of the most life-giving foods ever. So I'm going to go through all 13. Number 1, it's actually listed as an antioxidant, which, by the way, is very similar to being anti-aging. So since I teach doctors, I'll often show studies like this. This is from the medical literature, and it says that Ganoderma has definite anti-aging properties, including antioxidation. I'll expand on that. Immunomodulation, I'll expand on that. And anti-neurodegeneration, meaning it keeps your brain from falling apart. So oxidation is a process of rusting. You look at a car that's very, very rusted versus one that's not, you can tell that the car that's rusted is wearing out much, much, much faster. Very practical example. Here's an apple. And if you take a non-organic apple and cut it in half, and you put antioxidants on half of it, and just leave the other half exposed to oxygen, you can see that you see this brown half of the apple that's unprotected, whereas the better half, the unscathed half, they just sprinkled some antioxidants on it. So anytime something's grown organic, it's interesting that it may have similar levels of vitamins and minerals. They proved that in the medical literature, and they said there's not much difference between organic and not organic. But reality is, organic is much higher in what's known as phytonutrients and antioxidants. So I always encourage people, if they can, to do it. And the better your antioxidant status, the healthier that you will age. I always use references. So this is from National Institutes of Health. And what they found is that when they compared it to other mushrooms, reishi or Ganoderma has 10 times the antioxidants than the other mushrooms. Number 2, they actually listed as an immunomodulator. So my mentors taught me that our immune system, when it works well, we're going to be healthy for a long, long time. When it doesn't, we could be in big trouble fast. So you think about AIDS. When AIDS came out, I don't know how old the listening audience is, but in the 1980s, I remember when that came out, and it was a horrible death sentence. People were either going to die from an infection from bugs that were around them all the time or cancer. And Very, very thankfully, they've gotten better at medical management of AIDS. But I'll also let you know that if you were to go to pubmed.gov, type in Ganoderma and HIV, you'll find that Ganoderma can actually block replication of the HIV virus. But the reason I mention AIDS is when we don't have enough immune defense, we could die from infection, even things that are around us all the time, or we could actually die from cancer. And it's actually estimated that every person creates cancer cells every day, but when the immune system is doing well, it keeps that in check or kills those bad cells. So too little defense, infection or cancer, too much attack against foreign particles, that's an allergy. So these pollens that are in the air all of a sudden, all the time, suddenly you have itchy, red, watery eyes, sneezing, congestion, things like that. That shouldn't happen. Too much attack on the inside, by the way, that's called autoimmunity, and we're having a pandemic of all of that around the world. But Ganoderma, no matter what's going on with your immune system, too low or too high, it actually helps to balance it. So, fun story. This is Fire Captain Brian Figuera and his beautiful wife, Francesca. That picture was taken on an airplane coming back from an organo event. It was Las Vegas. They left late at night to fly back to Canada. And when Brian gets on a plane, he'll tell the crew, hey, listen, I've got emergency medical experience. I've got airport experience. If there's any challenge, let me know. Well, they tapped him on the shoulder about 2 o'clock in the morning and they said, hey, we have a patient. She's having a very severe allergic reaction. Her airways are closing. She did not bring her epinephrine pen, EpiPen. Do you have anything that could help? Well, Brian opened a king of coffee, put it in a cup of very minimal warm water, and within moments, the patient was breathing easily and they did not have to make an emergency landing. So very, very powerful there. We've got plenty of stories like that. The number 3 benefit published is antibacterial. There's a very bad bug called methicillin-resistant Staph aureus. MRSA is how they abbreviate that. And when people have MRSA, they can die. It's antibiotic resistant. It actually is estimated to kill over 100,000 people in U.S. hospitals every year. And amazingly, Ganoderma can block MRSA, can even eradicate MRSA. So very, very powerful there. Number 4 is brain health. So Daniel Amen wrote the book, The End of Mental Illness. He asked the question, what if brain health and mental health were one and the same? I've taught this for decades. AI says it's very, very accurate. The brain is the most nutrient dependent, energy dependent, stress vulnerable, toxin vulnerable organ. Think about that. It represents 2% of our body mass, uses 20% of our body oxygen to make energy, and stress shuts off blood flow to the brain, and toxins are very disruptive as well. So here are a number of studies talking about the bets of Ganoderma for brain health. So serotonin is for happiness, GABA is for calm, acetylcholine is for memory, dopamine is for focus and joy, and even coordination, motor coordination. It also can increase brain stem cells, can prevent Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and is even anti-seizure. So it's so calming to the brain that when people are having seizures, it can prevent it. So this is one of my favorite pictures. That little boy's name is Braden. He had a traumatic head injury when he was a child, so he was having massive convulsive seizures. Family brought him in and said, look, the medications aren't working. Do you have anything that could help him? And we did. We gave him some hot chocolate, which has a powerful therapeutic dose of Ganoderma. Gave him a ketogenic diet, very good for spores. Also gave him some capsules and other chewable vitamins. And within 6 months, he was seizure-free and off of all medications. Very, very powerful. There's a whole chapter, if you were to type in PubMed, PMID:317-77021, you would actually find that there's a whole chapter on Ganoderma and liver benefits. So whether it's alcoholic liver disease, fatty liver, hepatitis, even liver cancer, it's shown to be very, very helpful. Emily Morrow is a young lady on our team. She was struggling with 2 very significant autoimmune diseases. One was liver, one was thyroid, and wasn't doing well. I did a health consult with her, recommended the Ganoderma spores, part of something called the stress reset, recommended that she switch her coffee and tea. And her result was close to miraculous. She tells her story on Instagram. Follow her to learn her story, but she's created a phenomenally successful business just telling her story. And remember the phrase, facts tell, stories sell. Connect yourself to very powerful stories and see what you could achieve with this amazing business. When you start looking at antiviral, I did a lot of updates on viruses during the pandemic. And it turns out that we have a lot of viral DNA throughout our entire body. They actually estimate that there are 10 quintillion viruses. So, what's a quintillion? It's actually a million trillion. And those numbers are so big that we could never get through it in our entire life. But here, notice this, and you can type in this PubMed ID on Google search 223-47784. Type in that exact thing. You can go to the article that shows that Ganoderma can block replication of HIV. So I've been to Africa multiple times. We've got a very good team in South Africa. We've got people that have had such good results with their HIV numbers and their overall immune numbers just from drinking Ganoderma coffee. We can't make any health claims. PubMed can. Try it, measure your numbers, see where it goes. And it was proven very, very effective against the SARS-CoV infection. In fact, this was a study from very, very early 2020. And this was from China. And when they put people in the hospital, if they just gave them drugs, Western medicine, about 180 out of 1,000 would die. That's about an 18% death rate. And what happened when they gave them traditional Chinese medicine, which most likely consisted of Ganoderma or had Ganoderma. We don't know that for sure because the article didn't call it out. Improved the survival rate by nearly 30x, by over 27x. Ganoderma is phenomenal for blood sugar by multiple mechanisms. And when you start looking, some people can lose weight just switching, like this young lady. She switched from a Starbucks latte to our latte, lost 57 pounds in 10 months. I have a woman who is top 10 in the world in tennis for women over the age of 50. She walked in drinking a big Starbucks mocha, and I asked her, would you like to try a healthier mocha? She said, I'll try anything once. She had one cup of our mocha and said, oh my God, that can't be healthy. And I looked at her, I said, what do you mean? She said, well, it just tastes too good. Well, I hadn't done a comparison. We have about half the calories, 1/3 the sugar, a mega dose of Ganoderma, one coffee, and she forever made the switch. So that's sometimes all it takes to get a major change. When you start looking at gut health, Hippocrates said 2,000 years ago, all disease starts in the gut. He was actually only off by about 10%. Now we know about 90% disease starts in the gut, either the gut, the food that we put in it, or the bugs that are in our gut, or a combination of all the above. But if we can make the gut healthier, then we can help people tremendously. So this was a very odd study. They took two identical human twins. They started out identical. They lived in the same house, had very similar environment, similar diet, but one twin became obese. Now, interestingly enough, the twin that became obese did a lot of antibiotics, was always, always, always sick. So they got the idea, why don't we do a fecal transplant? So they took feces out of the backside of the obese twin, put it in the backside of an identical twin mouse. They did the same thing with feces from the lean twin. And these are pictures of the actual mice. These started out identical twins and on the exact same diet, the exact same quantity, the exact same quality, the exact same timing. The mice that got the obese microbiome became obese. Well, we know that if people have the wrong bugs in their gut, they get more calories from their food. They actually digest fiber into fat. So the bugs will eat fiber and poop out fat. And so people can have a very high calorie meal just eating lettuce or spinach or kale. But Ganoderma is known to actually reverse that obese microbiome. It also can seal and heal leaky gut. So as an aside, there's about nearly 80% of people that don't drink coffee don't do so because it aggravates their gut, aggravates their acid reflux. So our coffee, we have two patents. One, we alkalize it before we infuse the Ganoderma, and Ganoderma is known as the most alkaline food on the planet. Anti-cancer benefits were also called out. Go to pubmed.gov. You can type in any of these studies and find many, and I'm sure many, many more studies on the benefits of Ganoderma for cancer. It lowers blood pressure by multiple mechanisms very, very powerfully. My favorite is it's a regulator of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide won an award as Molecule of the Year. It was Nobel Prize nominated research, but it's really, really good for the heart, the brain, the immune system, sexual function, longevity. A number of studies on Ganoderma and heart health. So it's not just for blood pressure, it's not just for cholesterol, it's not just for nitric oxide, it's not just anti-clotting, it's all of the above and even more. Interestingly enough, when people take drugs that are blood thinners, they prevent normal clotting and they prevent abnormal bleeding. And about 1 in 9 people that take these drugs have a major bleeding episode. Ganoderma actually prevents abnormal clotting without promoting abnormal bleeding. So this was an animal study where they actually gave rats a very major clotting dose, and then they give them Ganoderma to try to figure out how they would buffer it, or they give them baby aspirin. Well, when they gave them a huge dose of this powerful clotting agent, they found out that if you could just do 2 cups a day of black coffee, which I do that before 6 o'clock in the morning, you get great protection against clotting. By the way, it would take 9 baby aspirin to get the same protection. You get even a very large person, if they had 9 baby aspirin, it would just be a number of days before they started bleeding. Ganoderma lowers the bad cholesterol, increases the good cholesterol, is proven to be very effective for migraine. In fact, this is the language from the International Journal of Pharmacology, which says that it can completely eradicate migraine in the majority of patients without side effects. Very, very powerful. When you start looking at fatigue, the study that's in the medical literature is it says neurasthenia, which is mental and physical exhaustion. Ganoderma is good for that. It's great for mitochondria, which make 94.4% of human energy. It's phenomenal for pain. This was a study on rheumatoid arthritis where they studied it versus the top drug, and Ganoderma got more benefit. It's also good for things that medicine has no clue about, like fibromyalgia, dramatic improvement in just 6 weeks. And one of my favorite stories, shingles is also known as herpes zoster. I had a woman walk in. Her name was Judy. She was, older woman, near 70. And she came in, she just looked miserable. Well, she had a rash down her entire arm. She was told she had shingles, and she felt like her arm was on fire. And I said, look, let's give you Ganoderma every waking hour. Let's see what happens. Well, I gave her a whole bottle of spores. I said, take 4 and then take, I think I said 1 every hour. Well, she came back the next day. She was very happy, but she wanted to buy more spores. And I looked at her, I said, Judy, you ought to have enough spores to last you a few days. She says, well, no, I'm taking 4 every waking hour, like you said. So, I told her too quick, didn't write it down. I tell people if that were a drug, we might not be having that conversation. She might not have survived. But what happened with Ganoderma is within a few doses, her pain went away. And she was very, very happy. She did not want to have that pain from shingles. So I had a patient, a police officer, come in, and he comes in. He says, Bob, I've got good news. I've got bad news. I said, well, start with the good. He says, well, I met the love of my life. I'm getting married next month. I said, well, that's great news. What could be the problem? He says, well, I've got a very severe case of genital herpes. He says, my job is so stressful that I nearly always have a breakout. So I gave him a complete immune protocol, including Ganoderma coffee. His herpes went away very, very fast. And by the way, after 9 years, he still hasn't had a breakout. Now, I don't believe it's completely gone. It could come back under the wrong circumstances, but he drinks a lot of coffee. As a police officer, he drinks about 9 cups a day. That's a great way to keep herpes away. So lots of different references on a lot of the benefits of Ganoderma. One of the most popular lectures I've ever given was Health Made Easy and Delicious. Because let's face it, people like easy, they like delicious, they drink coffee, they never need to be reminded, they never plan to quit. So that wraps up the health benefits of Ganoderma. And if you have any questions at all, you can either type them in the chat, or I'm more than happy to answer them if you ask them verbally. So any questions about anything at all?
Beautiful. Has anyone gotten a question? For those people with diabetes, which of these particular products can they take, and what are the dosage, please? People with diabetes.
Ask that again, please.
People with diabetes is very, very rampant nowadays. Which of these particular products is good for them?
Well, really, all of them could be. I prefer with diabetics.
All of them.
Yep. With diabetics, I try not to give them any sugar, even though our products are blood sugar friendly. I
Okay,
really like the spores for a
okay,
diabetic. And there's a lot of information out there. If you go to my YouTube channel, I've got a video on something called the carnivore diet. There was a huge study here in the US, over 2,000 patients, and all they had them do was eat red meat, salt, and water. And every one of them was able to get off injectable insulin. Now, that's a very extreme ketogenic diet. My memory aid for ketogenic, or the way I describe it, is leans, greens, nuts, and seeds. And if people eat that way, their blood sugars tends to get better. The black coffee, the king of coffee, the royal coffee, the spores, these are all the best products for diabetes, but any of our products are actually good.
good for that. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other question from anyone?
Please, I would like to know his YouTube channel.
Victoria, you'd like to know what view, hun?
Your
Your
YouTube
YouTube
channel.
channel.
Oh, my YouTube channel is dr_bob_rakowski. What I'll do is I'll put in the chat a link.
Okay, thank you.
Let me put in a link to the carnivore video.
Mm,
Let's do that. Because that one's really, actually, I know what I'll put in. I'll put in demolishing diabetes. I've got a series, demolishing diabetes, type 1, type 2, and type 3.
okay.
So here we go. Demolishing diabetes. I will share this and I'll put the link in there. And then that will get everybody at least a link to my YouTube channel. That's there. Ayodele said, or Oho, I think, or Ojo he goes by. Please, do you have a document that lists different types of ailments and diseases which the organo products can best recommend for them? So here's the challenge with that. We live in a world where we cannot make health claims on any natural product. Now, I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but if we said, hey, take the spores for your headache, take the Supreme for your sexual dysfunction, take the red tea for your asthma, all those things are accurate, but we can't make that statement. So the best thing I can tell you is the best product for people are the ones that they're going to do consistently. And if you look at those 13 different health benefits that I went over that are very, very well documented, you come to realize that, you know what, there's so much that we can do with this. No one's going to be hurt by it. Most people will be helped. But a step further, I'm not trying to build my business with this, but sometimes people need more than just a little guidance about which Ganoderma product. So I do consults all over the world. I've done consults with London, Africa, Asia, Mexico, Canada, all over the US. And what I tend to do is if people need organo products, they sign up under you and they get them. And if they need something else, we figure out how to get the best products for their health. So my website is drbobrakowski.com or thedrbob.com. So I'm always available for those types of questions. But keep in mind, we can't make health claims, even though we may have the healthiest products out there. Which is best for glaucoma or macular degeneration? The spores are the most potent. So Ganoderma spores and King of Coffee are the most potent. Yeah, and Ojo, yes, you can reach out. You bet. But if it's a long, involved question, we might have the patient, schedule a consult. Which again, I do that often enough, and I always want to make it a really good investment for the person if they're going to do that. Please, if 10-year-old child is easily losing focus and distracted, is there a Gano product you would recommend? Yeah, hot cocoa for the 10-year-old. It has a very high dose of Ganoderma. So for whatever reason, they chose not to put the amount of Ganoderma that's in every package because competitors would copy it and try to say, okay, I've got 1 milligram more of Ganoderma or something crazy like that. But the Ganoderma is about 5% of any package. So when you look at the hot cocoa, it's got the most Ganoderma of any organo product. And then the spores sprinkle very, very easily. So those are good things to do. And keep in mind, the brain remembers the most nutrient dependent, energy dependent, stress vulnerable, toxin vulnerable. So try to be very, very clean in diet. Try to get the individual good exercise, and even the cognition, the neuro tracker. We've got people with attention deficit that do the neuro tracker, and their brain works much, much, much better. And sometimes as fast as a week. Any other questions about anything at all?
Any other question? Yeah. Thank you
I might
very
go.
much.
I put that Demolishing Diabetes video link in our chat, but I might also put it in our WhatsApp group as well.
Okay.
That might make it easier for people to access.
Yes.
All right. Well, congratulations, all of you, for making the investment. Oho also asked fibroid. Same answer. King of coffee and the spores are going to be best. Mental illness, we'll go back with that same statement. The brain is the most nutrient dependent, energy dependent, stress vulnerable, toxin vulnerable. I just did a brain talk on my YouTube channel a few weeks ago. And let me find that, and I will put that in our chat and in the next group. Great. So where are we? For the brain, we'll put that here. Oh, for uterine fibroids, that's an estrogen toxic circumstance. Eating organic is a very good idea. The Ganoderma, again, can help it consistently. But any of those products can help.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions before we go for the day, or in your case, the evening? I think I see a few people from the States and Canada.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Any question from anyone? We appreciate it if you can please upload this particular Zoom meeting on the platform so that we can listen and listen again.
Yep, I will send you right after I get this loaded up. I'll put it in Dropbox. I do have your email, Adabola. So what I'll do is I'll send you, actually, if I put it on YouTube, it'll be available to everybody. So I'll put it on my YouTube channel and I'll put the link in our group.
All right. Oh, beautiful.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy your
Thank you,
beautiful evening.
doctor.
Thank you, sir. We are so
Appreciated.
grateful.
Appreciated.
We
Very
appreciate
Thank you very much.
for your
Thank
love
you.
and support.
Thank you. Thank you.